The Lower Quinton Witchcraft Murder. England, the 40s, February 14th, 1945. The war in Europe is over, or so people hoped. In the quiet village of Lower Quinton, something far darker than bombs or rationing would shake the community to its core. An elderly farm laborer named Charles Walton was found dead in a hedgerow, but this was no ordinary murder, and no one could explain why it happened. Today, on Unsolved Web, we dive into the chilling story of the Lower Quinton Witchcraft Murder, a case that blends folklore, institutional failure, and the terrifying idea that children may have been involved. His throat was slashed, a pitchfork had been driven into his neck, a crude cross carved into his chest, and the blood, carefully arranged. This was not random. This was not theft. From the start, police whispered the word that would haunt the investigation: witchcraft. And then came the children. Villagers spoke of young boys and girls who were unnervingly calm. Some described the crime scene before the police had even revealed the details. Some spoke of the killing as if it were necessary, but the authorities had no choice but to look away. Section 1. The crime. Charles Walton was an elderly farmhand, known in the village for his quiet, steady life. He was 74 years old, a lifelong agricultural laborer, and locally he had a reputation, not officially, not documented in newspapers, but whispered. Villagers later told journalists and researchers that Walton was rumored to have knowledge of old ways. Some believed he could curse livestock, blight crops, or cause illness. There is no hard evidence he practiced anything, but folklore attaches to people easily in isolated rural communities. Lower Quinton sat beneath Meon Hill, a place already wrapped in superstition. On Valentine's Day, 1945, he set out early, tending to his small holdings near the hedgerows that bordered Lower Quinton. Hours later, he was found. The scene was horrifying and ritualistic. A pitchfork plunged into his neck, pinning him to the ground. His throat had been cut. A cross, or slash marks forming a cross, was carved into his chest. Blood was not just spilled, it had been deliberately arranged, almost ceremonially. This was not a robbery. There was nothing missing, nothing of value taken, and that mattered. Walton wasn't just killed, he was posed. The ritual suspicion came from three things, not one. First, the specific injuries. In English folk belief, iron was protective. A pitchfork pinning someone to the earth could symbolically stop a witch from rising or retaliating. There is historical precedent for the idea of physically anchoring a suspected witch after death to prevent spiritual revenge. Now, did police officially declare this? No, but investigators noted the symbolism. Second, the location. Meon Hill had long-standing local folklore tied to witches and pagan rites. There were persistent stories that witches gathered there on certain nights. No proven coven, no confirmed rituals, but folklore was alive in that region well into the early 20th century. This was not uncommon in rural Warwickshire. Folk magic, charms, curse-breaking, protective rituals persisted quietly even into the 1940s. So when a body appears mutilated in a way that resembles protective anti-witch folklore in a village with witch lore, investigators could not ignore it. And third, the absence of a conventional motive. No robbery, no public feud, no clear personal enemies. When all conventional motives fail, investigators look at social context. That's what happened here. Section 2. A village steeped in folklore. Lower Quinton was no ordinary English village. Families had lived there for generations, carrying quiet traditions, whispered tales, and old pagan beliefs. Seasonal rites, curses, and so-called cleansing rituals were part of life, though most villagers kept them hidden. This was not a robed cult. It was domestic belief. Charmers, curse breakers, people who believed in seasonal rites, quiet superstitions passed down generationally. The type of belief that doesn't show up in court records, but shapes behavior. After Walton's murder, whispers spread. Some spoke of curses, others of unlucky children born into families with dark reputations. Police did not arrive declaring witchcraft, but they could not ignore what villagers were saying. Eventually, Scotland Yard assigned Detective Inspector Robert Fabian to the case. Fabian later wrote about the investigation. He openly stated that villagers spoke of witchcraft. He acknowledged the folklore angle. He did not confirm it, but he took it seriously enough to investigate. That's critical. The occult suspicion wasn't media fantasy. It was discussed inside the investigation because of the symbolic injuries, the Hill's reputation, Walton's rumored history, the lack of robbery motive, and the lack of personal enemies. Now, about the contradiction. If authorities suspected ritual elements, why downplay it publicly? Because 1945 Britain was fragile. The war had just ended in Europe. Communities were traumatized. Panic spreads fast in rural villages. Publicly confirming ritual killing could have triggered hysteria, vigilante suspicion, or violence. So internally, they explored it. Externally, they kept it muted. That's not contradiction, that's containment. Section 3. The Children. And here's where the story grows darker. Scotland Yard's files later noted that some children behaved strangely calm in the aftermath. Their demeanor was unusual enough that police questioned them repeatedly. Investigators privately believed the murder could not have been the work of one man alone. Could children have been involved? Participants? Witnesses, or ritual assistants? Witness statements suggest several children described the crime scene in detail before any official reports were released. Some spoke of the killing in language tied to old rites, words about cleansing, sacrifice, and protection. But here we need to be careful. There is no hard archival evidence proving children described unreleased crime details. That part has been amplified in later retellings. What is documented? Children were questioned. Villagers discussed superstition openly. Some locals were described as oddly calm, but there is no official record proving children performed or assisted in the murder. Legally and socially, prosecuting children in 1945 for a crime steeped in folklore was almost impossible. So their statements quietly vanished from official summaries. The authorities may have suspected, but they were powerless or unwilling to confront the reality. And the children? Many refused to speak of it for the rest of their lives. Their silence became part of the story. Section 4. Institutional failure. The investigation itself was strained. Wartime policing meant evidence collection was sloppy. Key interviews were never fully transcribed. Forensic methods were primitive. Scotland Yard intervened. Robert Fabian examined the case carefully, but even he found no provable coven, no organized clan, no ceremonial group operating in Lower Quinton. Fabian reportedly suspected the killer believed Walton was a witch and that the killing was meant to neutralize him. That's different from organized ritual sacrifice. Authorities downplayed the occult angle publicly to avoid panic. Privately, they explored it. No group was charged, no child was prosecuted, no definitive motive was ever proven, and eventually, the case stalled. It remains officially unsolved. Section 5. The most likely theories. Modern researchers lean towards several possibilities. A local dispute fueled by superstition, someone genuinely believing Walton was practicing harmful magic, a staged ritual scene to misdirect investigators, or a mentally unstable killer using folklore as symbolism. But no coven was ever exposed. No group was charged. The murder sits at the intersection of folk belief and modern law, post-war instability and rural secrecy, symbolic violence and institutional silence, not because police said witchcraft did it, but because the crime scene echoed centuries-old protective killing rituals, and no better motive ever emerged. Section 6. Why it still matters. The Lower Quinton witchcraft murder is not loud or sensational. It is quiet, rural, and insidious. A real-life case where folklore, fear, and institutional silence collided, leaving questions that may never be answered. Lower Quinton was spared a public reckoning, but the truth lingered quietly in the shadows, an inherited horror that festered among its people. If you found this story chilling, or if you've heard whispers of other unexplained child-involved crimes, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell so you don't miss our next dive into the unknown, and leave a comment with your thoughts. What do you think really happened that Valentine's Day in 1945? Thanks for watching Unsolved Web. Remember, some horrors aren't found in the headlines. They're buried quietly in the countryside, in plain sight, waiting for someone to remember.